This episode of Like It or Not is sponsored by CH Peptides, a trusted source for high-quality research peptides like tirzepatide, BPC157, and IGF-1LR3. With fast shipping, consistent purity, and top-tier service, CH Peptides keep things simple and reliable. Want to learn more or book an appointment? Just call or text 707-380-6411. Tell them your boys from Like It or Not sent you, and you get 15% off your order. You can also order at chpeptides.com and enter Like It or Not at checkout for 15% off your order. So do not delay. Call today. That's CH Peptides. Products are for research use only, not intended for human or animal use. Complete Health Peptides makes no claims or promises regarding the effects of any product. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Thompson Construction. Thompson Construction is an excavating and grading general engineering contractor based right here in Ukiah, California. They specialize in septic system installation and repairs, land and site development for residential, commercial, agricultural, anything you got going on. These guys can handle it. No job too big or too small. At Thompson Construction, they love what they do and they take the utmost pride in their work. Customer satisfaction and great attention to detail is a major goal of these guys. So give them a call today, 707-391-7679 for your free quote. That's 707-391-7679. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by the Thirsty Axe. Go to thirstyaxe.com to check out all of their upcoming events. They have bands, they have DJs, they always have good shit going on there. They also have on every single Wednesday night, it's trivia night, ladies and gentlemen. Trivia night. Who else has trivia night? No one but the Thirsty Axe. And every Thursday is karaoke. Oh my gosh, you guys. If you haven't been there for a karaoke night, you need to get your asses down there because it's a blast. So go to thirstyaxe.com. Check out all of their events. Go there, have a drink, throw some axes, play some pool, enjoy yourselves. And thirstyaxe.com for all of their upcoming events. The boys at Pure Blends Barbershop have done it again, ladies and gentlemen. Voted 4 years in a row best barbershop in Lake and Mendocino counties. That's right. If you want to go to the best, that would be Pure Blends Barbershop. Call right now to book an appointment, 707-472-6097. Get yourself looking good like Drew and I do at Pure Blends Barbershop. Spring is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, and you have a project that needs to be done, and we have the people to do that project. DC Customs, that's who we're talking about. You have a truck that needs a lift or an exhaust or new tires, or you want to pimp out your ride, DC Customs is the place to do it. Go to dccustoms.net or call right now to get your project started at 707-463-2227. That's the OG's DC Customs. My name is Carter Lane.
I'm Drew Nickel.
Welcome to the show. Oh my God. I think you have a problem, bro.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Every time.
What is wrong with you, Drew?
There's so many things. Where do we start?
Ladies and gentlemen of Like It or Not Land, we're glad you're back for another episode. I'm Carter Lane. This is Drew Nickel. And with us today, we have the amazing and miraculous and all-powerful Chad Bianco, Sheriff of Riverside County and gubernatorial candidate.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks for
We're going to make this
show.
happen.
Oh my God. Hey, why? Why do you want to be governor, dude?
Yeah,
what's
wrong with you, Chad?
I don't. There is a big why, and it's certainly not for myself. I'll super honest with you here. I think that I'm way comfortable. I'm very comfortable in the job that I have. I think I have an amazing, fantastic job. I'm the sheriff of Riverside County. We're huge. I have a great reputation in the county. A lot of respect from employees, the deputies, all of that. And it came to a point where it's not that I want to be the governor. I have to be the governor if we're going to make changes in California. I know intimately every single person that's running against me, and nothing's going to change. There is absolutely nothing going to change in California, and we have the potential of it getting worse. Amen. There is the people who are running to be the governor, not to make change, not to make a difference, not to make your life better. It's what are they going to get out of it? It's this, I'm the governor. Lifetime politicians, lifetime wannabe politicians, and then you have me, who's a lifetime of doing everything I can to make everybody else's life better. Outside of politics. We don't ask you if you're who you voted for when we go out to help you. And doesn't even matter if you even like us. We're there to help you, and we solve emergencies every single day and move on to the next emergency. And I think that leadership ability is what we're lacking. We don't vote for leaders in California. We vote for bright, shiny objects. We vote for Democrat only. It's if the D behind the name or the R behind the name, or celebrities, millionaires, billionaires, those bright, shiny objects that attract us, instead of honesty, integrity, leadership, and proven ability. Amen. And I think that's why I'm leading in the polls is people are looking for that. People are seeing it's like, hey, he's just a regular guy trying to make a difference. And that truly is what I'm doing it for.
Yeah. I mean, people want authenticity.
For sure.
Especially now that we've seen these celebrities get into these power positions and things like that. It's like, I crave authenticity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's a big deal to have
especially that. From our government officials. When you have polls that come out and you have, where we learn that 87% of the public doesn't trust the politicians running government, there's something very, very broken. And yet we continue to vote for those same people.
Exactly.
And I will say that unfortunately, those type of people that we're putting in Sacramento are the type that are attracted to this position for the power. And a person like me is not attracted to this position. I don't seek this out. I don't want to seek this out. I already have my niche. I already have my career, basically, that is even coming down to a close where I could retire if I wanted to. But I know I still have plenty in me to make Riverside County's lives better. Now we're choosing it to do the entire state of California. And I think that's the difference in where people look at me is it's just outside the politic thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So are you a little afraid then, like when you win and if you do win, like how are you going to be effective? You're kind of getting thrown to the wolves, right? Because if you're in there to make change, I could pretty much guarantee you a lot of those people aren't going to be wanting that change. They're not going. They're not kicking and screaming.
They are. They're not going to want me there. But here's the thing: there's rules in politics, and I'm not in politics. I'm not playing by their rules. I'm not keeping quiet. I'm not looking the other way. I'm not going to let them do things in the dark where you don't know these absolute crazy, just bizarre bills that they pass that we know on its face are going to make our lives miserable, but it appeases a special interest. You and I, we can all look and say, somebody got paid. Yeah. There is no reason why something like that would get passed and put into law unless somebody got paid.
Everywhere you look.
Yeah. And so I think that's the big difference right now. So especially me going there, those people that are there to get paid and for that power and what they get while they're there, that's all going to be exposed. That's what's breaking California. And that's what I'm really going there for. By breaking that system, then we're going to be able to force them to actually do their jobs and make decisions that are good for all of California instead of their own special interests.
Mm-hmm. So when we had our sheriff on Mendocino County, Matt Kendall, he thought, Chad would be a good governor. He said, but the challenge you're going to have is how are you going to be a uniter, and bring things together? Because admittedly, that's maybe one of Trump's downfalls, right? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily comparing you to him, but not bringing people together, So I think if you're going to win and you're going to be effective, somehow you got to bridge that gap for these people that have been voting for these same, this same failed leadership over and over and over again.
Yeah. And that's the key. I think that in partisan politics, especially in California, they just vote for a D. I've joked all the
Right.
time that if Charles Manson was the only person on the ballot and he was a Democrat, Democrats would vote for him just because they saw that D. They wouldn't even look at the name. They'd just say, oh, there's my choices. I'm going with the D. But I think what's happening now, especially in the majority of people, and when I say the majority of people, outside of partisan, the 80% of the people in the middle are just absolutely sick and tired of the pain that we're being put through.
Yeah.
It's unsafe. Criminals are being coddled and allowed and enabled to keep victimizing us. There's no punishment. The taxes, the regulation, it's just making it impossible to live here. We can't afford anything anymore. We know that the price of gas on the horizon is just going to skyrocket because of bad policies.
Yeah.
And then the big part for me, I think a little bit of the appeal is the public safety aspect. Everyone wants to be safe. It can be cheap to live here, but if you're afraid to go to the store, you're not going to want to live there. So that appeal of law enforcement, public safety, fixing all of that that's broken, I think that's what is going to be the uniter. I have a history of having to work through partisan politics. I have a 4-1 Democrat board. And I have a great relationship with them because we are making sure that we don't bring politics into the decisions that I have to make or that they have to make that are going to affect the entire county. And when I come to them with my concerns, they actually listen. And I've never threatened them. I've never had to go public, but they know that I will. There are other state officials that I have gone public against and been successful. So locally, my local officials, electeds, they know that I have that potential to, and I have the platform to get out and say, we're trying to do the right thing by all of you that 80%, 90% are going to agree with, but they're trying to sabotage that to appease this little tiny minority. And then when all those people are in an uproar, the biggest fear of politicians is not getting elected again. I know I will get elected for a second term, not because of politics, not because of partisanship, but because of the job I'm going to do. And if I don't do the job and can't do the job, then vote for somebody else. But that ability to make everybody's lives better in 4 years that I know we're going to do, it's going to be a no-brainer to vote for me again because things are going to go well because everything is working for us instead of that government building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you kind of touched on it there. It just seems like California needs to make an adjustment back to a little bit more of law and order.
Yeah.
Like we passed some laws to decriminalizing, theft under a certain amount and drugs because, if you're walking around, you're like, I don't want to go to jail for drugs if you got them in your pocket or, you don't think people. But the reality of it is, it doesn't, I was watching, who Nick Shirley is? He's been going around and he was, talking to some people down on Skid Row and he was like, yeah, now people don't have that, oh shit, I'm in jail. This is rock bottom and I don't want to be here anymore. There's no place worse than jail. And because they're not having that experience, there's really no incentive to get people
It's almost like you're
off drugs.
enabling them.
Well, not only that, then he goes on to show, we could play the clip, but I don't know that we need to, where all of a sudden they just show up and instead of taking him to jail, like you got this guy just passed out here on the ground, right? They bring him needles, Narcan, everything he needs to continue doing drugs on the street. And instead of throwing him in jail, letting him sober up and giving him an opportunity to maybe connect to some help.
Yeah. So I talked to one in particular, a guy that was on Skid Row, and he admittedly said that he ended up there because of an alcohol problem, massive alcohol problem. Family kicked him out of the house. He ends up in Skid Row. He's been there for 6 years. I asked him about drugs. He said he uses drugs. He said he doesn't want to use drugs, but he said it's almost forced upon him. He said he's sitting here all day. He doesn't have to go looking for drugs. The drugs are coming to him.
Right.
The drugs are coming to him. It's almost forced upon him. What he feels like, he has to take them. He has to do them. He's paying for them and everything else. And now he's addicted to drugs too. So it's the environment that they find themselves in is an enabling environment. It's for you and I, it makes absolutely no sense why we would allow that to happen.
Right. It seems inhumane.
It is inhumane. There is zero compassion from any government official in Los Angeles that believes that 50 square blocks of people living on the sidewalk in filth is humane, acceptable, but it is, and it has been throughout history because they named it. They just call it Skid Row, and they say, oh, that's Skid Row, and it's okay. But the massive amount of money that's going into that is making it worse, not better, because the money, now that we know with what Nick's doing and everything else, and there are others that are doing a fantastic job, why wasn't it our government? Why wasn't it our failed attorney general that found this fraud and abuse of our taxpayer money?
Correct.
It's a 20-year-old kid, whatever Nick is, that's coming out here and finding all of these with simple little public searches, and he's exposing all of this. The homeless industrial complex with these billions and billions of dollars, where those people that are actually living on the streets get none of it. They're just enabled to continue.
We've been screaming that, for at least I have, from the rooftops on this podcast, where it's like you have this $24 billion that disappeared, and then Congress passed the law to find out where it went, and Newsom
He said no.
Right?
Yeah, he doesn't want anyone to know where.
And why could that be?
Yeah.
Because maybe all of that's getting siphoned off into NGOs and, nonprofits that are cycling it straight back to them. I mean, we're pretty much getting robbed blind by our politicians here at this point and paying.
We're being abused. Yeah. It's a take from us that because we live in California and we want to stay in California, we want to live here. We've allowed it to happen over the years, so it just keeps increasing and increasing while they just do whatever they want with that money with no care where it's going, no consequence of where it's going, whether it's helping or not, they don't care. Somebody's benefiting from it, and then in the back door, they're benefiting. Yeah. And that's the system that we have in government. That's why no one trusts government officials. The trust level is near zero, and that's why we need leaders with a proven history, not someone just telling you I'm going to do something. You've got to have, I think that's my appeal. I have a proven history of doing everything that I'm going to say, and it's always for other people. I'm a public servant. I up through the ranks to the point where I was elected by my entire county to do the right thing for public safety, and then reelected. So obviously I'm doing the right thing.
How long have you been sheriff?
I've been sheriff since 2018, the November election of 2018, reelected again in 2022. So my current term ends in 2028.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
I hope people get to a point where they realize it's okay to vote for different leadership. It seems like we're in this abusive relationship with the Democratic Party in California where we just, they beat us down. We got black eyes. And then when the cops show up, we're like, no, it's fine. I love him. I love him.
They said they never do it again.
Yeah. He loves me. He won't do it. And as soon as they get the chance, they're just, wolves in the hen house. They just can't help themselves.
Yeah. It's a way of life for them.
Yeah. And I think it's become a way of life for Californians. And
we're losing a lot of really good people because everybody's leaving the state.
We're losing a lot of wealth. We're losing a lot of
businesses,
California.
all sorts of stuff.
When you start losing businesses and you lose the people who are working and you lose the people who are mega wealthy that are financing the businesses and financing the wealth, when they leave, the state is failing. And we've had it. I just saw a statistic yesterday. 6 years in a row, there's more people have left California than come in. So that's the only state in the country. And we could sit here and we could come up with thousands of reasons why California is the best state in the country. There's only one why we're not, and it's politics. Yeah. And that's what's driving everybody away.
Newsom keeps saying our population's growing, but then you kind of look at it and you're like, growing with people coming across the border.
Yeah, but it's not growing. Not. And I'm not going to have to convince you guys. Governor Newsom lies every time he opens his mouth. And 100%. for me in my world, a lie is a lie. Whether it's a misrepresentation, whether it's a skewing facts or bending the truth or leaving out information, a lie is a lie. So when you call somebody a liar, that's a 4-letter word, and that's offensive. But if you say they're dishonest, it's okay. But so he's okay with saying he's dishonest, but he's an absolute liar. And so when he twists these facts, what he does is he twists those numbers to say that population is increasing, whatever it is, but you're not supposed to be counting the illegal immigration that's coming in.
Right.
So he's saying that the numbers aren't as bad as people say. This is the real number, and it's like, wait, we can't count the illegals that you're bringing in It's the majority of Californians are leaving, and it's being offset by a little bit. So, for instance, a couple of years ago, it was something like 300,000 was the final number, but it was really 900,000 Californians left, and then that 600,000 illegals come in,
Sure.
so the overall is 300.
Number
and
looks
he actually,
smaller on paper.
yeah, and then he'll twist it and say, we're getting better because it was better than last year.
Did you see?
Yeah,
did you watch Newsom on the Sean Ryan podcast? Did you see
Yes,
that?
unfortunately.
Oh my God, I just was so sickened by that interview. Did you watch that?
No, dude.
I like Sean Ryan,
I'm done with him.
after
I don't
that-
need to watch anything else.
It's painful.
I was done when he was making rules for thee, but not for he, back when COVID happened.
Sure.
And that was the end. I was like, absolutely not. I know who this guy is. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, Plum Jack
So-
City. Yeah, no.
But what happened on the podcast?
Well, I mean, it was just, an hour and a half of just one turd after another falling out of Newsom's mouth, and Sean Ryan just giving him guns and eating it up and not pushing back at all. And for somebody who looks to like, at least certain media that you can relate to, because a lot of places you look, you don't, to see like finally, okay, Newsom's on what I'm watching, and then watch him just have his way and just lie.
Yeah.
And living in this state and knowing that it's a bold-faced lie and just being so aggravated by him talking about how well everything is going at his helm. It was just tragic.
Yeah, Newsom would never come on a conservative podcast or a very open, it doesn't even have to be political. It could be, if Sean Ryan lived in California, Newsom would have never gone on that podcast. Sean Ryan doesn't know what we experience on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So when you're talking to the governor, and he's very convincing, I mean, he's a pathological liar. Yeah. And so he can convince you of anything. So as he's arguing back and forth and very, very forcefully arguing, Sean, I'm going to assume it's like, oh, he must be telling the truth, or at least somewhat the truth. And he did let him slide on so many things that while we're watching, it's like, what in the world?
Yeah.
That is absolutely false. We either don't have that, it's not like that here, and he's not telling the truth, but Sean didn't know, and then they just move on to the next question.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, obviously he needs to be replaced.
Big time.
And that was
ASAP.
That's like my other concern. So we tried to recall the guy, and everybody was all for it, and then magically when it became time to actually recall him, all of the votes, weren't there. And again, you can look at Nick Shirley and other things where they go on the register voter, they'll go to senior facilities that say there's 50 people in here and 49 of them voted, and then they go there and there's not even 20 people in there. I mean, I would imagine with the grip that the Democratic Party and Newsom and company have on this state, are you concerned about election rigging, ballot harvesting, and just like whatever they got to do to keep you out, they're going to do?
So that's interesting. The answer is yes. But the ballot harvesting part, they made legal. So my big concern with ballot harvesting is conservatives, Republicans, independents don't do it because we know it's cheating. So the Democrats do it, and they do it well. But we don't want to be a part of it because it's like, I think that's a cheating system. You set that up just to cheat, and I don't want to be a part of the system. So I'm not going to go ballot harvest. Well, then we're going to lose every time. We have to beat them at their own game. That's the real reason why President Trump won. They ran the National Republican Party ran a Democrat National Party campaign, and they got more people out to vote than had ever voted before, and they harvested those ballots. They went out because it's legal. And so you have to do it. I tell people all the time, churches and businesses, harvest those ballots. Tell all your friends that you're going to come pick up your ballot so we know they vote. Because that's the reality of California is I'm more worried about people not voting than about cheating, affecting this election. It's going to be more affected by people not coming out to vote.
So if you're going to get in the trenches, you got to play the game, huh?
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you what, as soon as we beat them in November, the Democrats are going to jump up and down and say that it's rigged. The system's rigged. We need to change mail-in ballots. That's what they're going to say.
Of course.
Yeah. So
it's not working for them anymore.
And then we'll just say, okay, perfect. Then we're taking them away, which we're going to anyway with me winning. We will not have mail-in ballots. So you get a mail-in ballot, what it used to be. If you're in the military or if you're in the hospital and you can't get out to vote, we're going to have one-day voting. You show up to the polls and you vote. That's
right.
how elections are supposed to be fair and secure, and we're going to make sure they have it. We're going to have voter ID on the ballot this year, so everybody's going to get to vote for that. That's like 80% of the people of California want voter ID. It's going to pass with a landslide, even though the Democrats are going to put millions and millions and millions of bad advertisements, fake commercials, and everything else to try and convince people to vote the wrong way. But people are over it. They want voter ID and they want secure elections.
Yeah. And that kind of reminds me of coming back to authenticity, right? It's like at some point this is going to change, and those fake, terrible commercials that you see on TV are not going to be effective anymore, because we're going to be able to see that that's not authentic.
Yeah.
Right? And feel that that's not authentic.
Yeah.
I think I sent you an article, but I was reading about it. It was a news report, details how fire aid money was diverted, and charitable donations were diverted to left-wing pet projects and illegal aliens instead of California fire victims.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like another way that, the deck is stacked against you, is that they're just siphoning off all of the money that is either donated or paid in taxes to fill their political war coffers here.
So let me tell you, I hope the federal government comes in and does this. This is, I'm get a little brutal right here, but it's just
Let's do it.
truth. We have the Attorney General of our state is the lead law enforcement officer of the state, supposed to be making sure that we're not victimized, that things are major corruption, all of this. It is his responsibility to investigate these crimes, and he's not. So the federal government is having to come in and look at it. This right there on its face is 100% complete embezzlement. That money was given by you and you to go to the victims. When money is taken that you're entrusted for money for a purpose and you use it for another purpose, that's embezzlement. All of those people should be arrested and they should be in jail. That consequence stops everybody else from doing it.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
where did consequences
There
go?
there is no one. When we all watched those houses burn down all across the world, that $100 million that came in for fire aid was all across the world. People watched an entire city get wiped off the planet, and they felt sorry for them. People who are probably poor giving $5, $100, money that they probably didn't have. Rich people giving money that feel how they should. I mean, that's how life
they
works.
do have.
And they got $100 million. That nothing went to those victims.
Not a
But yet
dime.
now we see that it went to voter outreach for Democrat causes. What did that have to do with the fire or where you wanted that money going? The Attorney General is an embarrassment to law enforcement. Rob Bonta, absolute, let me look right in the camera. He is an absolute embarrassment to my profession, to lawmen across this state and women, but to law enforcement in general. You are an embarrassment. All of this stuff should not be happening. And it's happening under his watch. He knows it's happening. He's purposely not investigating it. And he's the one that's supposed to be doing it.
And Californians keep voting for the people doing it. You know what I mean? And
He's
it's
up
like-
for election right now.
Yeah.
And if California votes for him again, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lack of education. They just don't know. And like you said, it's Team D all the way. So they just fill in the box.
Yeah.
Or, bring people across the border
Yeah,
that
we're going to expose him on Tuesday for some little bit of trying to interfere with some election fraud investigations too.
Yeah, and I mean Spencer Pratt's been going, hard in the paint on it, showing even how that money's getting, deflected to, NGOs and nonprofits that Newsom's wife is running.
Yeah, absolutely. So why isn't the Attorney General investigating that?
Right. You must be on the
He's
tape.
a part of it.
Yeah.
You have to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So what do you make of isn't the state now suing LA and vice versa? They're fighting with each other over that whole fiasco that was the Palisades fire.
It's theatrics, so we all just get pushed aside. We think they're doing something. We think something's going to happen, and they're just doing theatrics, smoke and mirrors, so something else is going to happen, and we're going to move on to that, and we're going to forget about this. That is all that is.
Yeah.
All that is.
Nothing's actually going to happen. What do you think about Spencer Pratt running for the mayor of LA? You think he'll win?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll win. I mean, we can hope he'll win. I mean, you know, you have Tish Hyman that's running also that are Spencer and Tish are normal people, just normal us that are absolutely fed up with this system. And I would hope that both of them have a better chance of winning than Karen Bass does, because she's proven she's completely incompetent for that position. She's not suited to be the mayor of Los Angeles, and we absolutely need people who care. And there are a few people running. I hope they do. I hope they can pull it off.
Yeah.
Have you heard, and do you think that potentially the Palisades fire was allowed to happen because they want to build a 15-minute city down there, and it's happening in Maui and all these crazy places?
That's convoluted. This is my own personal opinion. I don't think that particular fire was allowed to happen, but the environment that we are in California, the people that made that environment, that put all of these regulations in place, they knew it was eventually going to happen. They didn't know where. They didn't know it was going to be the Palisades. They didn't know where in California, but they knew cities were going to burn down. The insurance companies knew that we were going to lose entire cities that they couldn't insure. That's why they all left. And they had repeatedly warned Newsom that your failed policies are going to cause this problem. So when you go back and you look and see what they did, they didn't purposely allow the Palisades to burn down, but they created the environment that there was no way it wasn't going to burn down. And part of it started with how the fire started to begin with. A small fire before that they put out, and then environmental regulations prevented the fire department from going in that certain area and tamping it out and basically stirring up the coals, making sure they're out. That the firemen don't just go put out a forest fire when it's over. They're there for weeks later, walking those lines, walking those fires, making sure that all the coals are out, hot spots are taken care of. And they saw the hot spots, but the environmentalists prevented them from going in and taking
they all
them
say
out.
They were told to leave. And they're like, this is crazy.
And then the wind comes up the next day or a couple of days later. We know what happens when you blow on a fire. The embers turn into a fire again and then blow it somewhere else, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Why are these environmental agencies so powerful in California? Like, where are they getting all this money?
It's money. It's money. It's the donations. It's nonprofits. It's NGOs. It's government money. A lot of it's our money.
So tax
We're
money
funding them,
going to NGOs, then getting funneled
back into the election cycle, and then back into trips for lawmakers, for extravagant trips and everything else for lawmakers. We know, for instance, Governor Newsom has never paid for a trip since he's been governor. It's a nonprofit that pays for it. And people donate all this money into the nonprofit, and they pay for all his travel expenses for his private jets and everything else. And that's influence. Mm-hmm. That is influence for him to do something for someone else. Mm-hmm. And that's how it works. They get dinners, they get cars, they get money, they get trips, the individual legislators. And that's how it works. That's what has to be stopped. This dirty little behind the scenes money where the lobbyists are the ones that are shelling out the money to make sure that they get their way. But the environmentalist part of it, this didn't happen with COVID. It didn't happen last year. This is decades long in the making of environmentalists who absolutely want zero growth. That's their whole goal. The environment is more important than us. Yeah. A weed and a bug and a tree is more important than our lives and our security and all of those things. So
Food source.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the environmentalists and the regulations that they have put on every industry in California, their sole purpose is to prevent growth. That's why a business can't grow. That's why you can't open a business, or all of the regulations and the costs. It's like, well, it's not worth it to open a business. Or we're forcing all of our farmers out of business because of regulation, and they can't operate their farms anymore. They don't get water anymore because they regulated the water out. So now they have to leave. Yeah. And it's all so they shrink progress or halt progress. And and I have to say, there's a purpose for environmentalists. There's a purpose for activism. But activism is supposed to be on the outside, the peripheral. And the adults at the table are supposed to be listening to all the peripheral information and then making the decisions of what's best for everyone else. And that's not how it works in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we're touching on, it's like these environmental agencies are funded by NGOs that are funded by taxpayer money, and they become like almost like a pit bull arm for, certain political agendas that, politicians can't do themselves, so they have to sick their other, forces on. It's just, it's crazy.
And we're in the middle of something here in Mendocino County, which is the Potter Valley Dam project. I'm sure you've heard about that too. And that's another crazy thing. I mean, that has a potential to change our county, Sonoma County, in a major way if those dams come out.
It's more than that. It's multiple counties. It's all the way down into Marin County.
Well, sure.
That is disastrous, absolutely disastrous. And in a time where more than a decade ago, the entire state said we need more water, we need to build more dams, and we passed a bond measure for billions and billions and billions of money, of our money, to build more dams. And the government just decided that they're just going to remove all the dams instead of build dams.
Yeah. It's like,
what?
Why?
Yeah.
What
the fuck is going on?
What the incentive there? I mean, it just, like you said, it's just like, it feels just like a deep populist agenda. It's like, environmentalism has its place, but it's also becoming anti-human.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at, we've had so many fires in this area, and you're looking at the biggest reservoirs that we have to put them out and to keep our land from being bone dry so we don't just absolutely burn off the map, it feels intentional, you know? And if you do win, it's something that when you do win, let's say that.
There you go.
It's something that's got to be looked at because it's getting crazy out here. And it's one of those things that just happens and creeps and you don't hear about it, and it's backdoor deals and this, and then all of a sudden, the dam's coming out and it's too late and everybody's just all,
Yeah, that's what I vowed in Sacramento is my actions, and what I will do is this exposure. It's every single day I will inform the entire state what's happening and what the either the consequences are going to be or the benefits are going to be. And these are the people responsible. These are the people that are pushing this bill that are going to have massive consequences. These are the people that are trying to get a bill through that's going to actually help a whole lot of people. And when that happens, the number one fear of any elected official is not getting elected again. If they're there for the wrong reason, their number one fear is not getting elected again because of the power that they get, the influence with that third-party money and benefits and all those things. They like that. And if they fear that they're not going to get elected again, they'll go along with the program. It's sad that I have to say that we're going to force them to do what they were elected to do. But that's really going to be, that's the environment that I'm going to have to create.
What do you think about the whole fire insurance situation here, since we're kind of talking about it? I mean, the houses you drove by just to get here, they're paying between $8,000 and $12,000 a year in fire insurance. I mean, it's getting absolutely out of control.
Yeah, there are places where I live, so I tried to just get different insurance, tried to see if I could get cheaper insurance. I can't get insurance. I'm stuck with the one that I have, which is okay. At least I have it. But I can't go out and shop for more because where I live, they say I'm in a fire zone. I am nowhere near mountains. I'm in rural, but I'm in residential rural. We're not in danger of fire zones, but because of the Southern California zip code rule that the insurance companies have put on it, I can't get insurance. And so I have friends that are borderline in those places where it is fire, and they're paying $25,000, $30,000. Their insurance is like 10 times more than what it was 5 years ago. Yeah. And they're losing their properties because they can't afford their house payment and a $2,000, $2,500 a month insurance payment.
Yeah.
And they're losing their properties. The reason why insurance is going so high is because all the insurance companies left. So it's normal supply and demand. If you have one person that's only offering insurance, they can charge you whatever they want. And if it's only that one person with insurance, especially, they're responsible for all the loss. So they have to be able to financially cover all of the loss, by raising all of our rates, and that's what happens. When we remove the regulations that will allow fire departments to create defensible space around our communities, the insurance companies are going to come back. They have to come back. They want to come back because of all the people that are here. That's a lot of customers, and that's a lot on their bottom line on what they make for their companies. So they will come back. It's just going to take, they're going to have to know that those regulations are not coming back and that we're actually doing an effort to make sure that we're not going to lose an entire city.
Yeah, I just don't. It just seems so common sense. I don't understand how our state.
Common sense is not common, especially in government.
I know. It's terrible.
I mean, especially in I don't know. It just seems
going back to the water. I mean, we can just sit and talk about water, and we can look. We can walk out here. I'm going to imagine, and there's a little stream somewhere, and we can
There's
say
a river right here,
and we can say, how can we save that water?
Yeah,
it's not rocket science. We can all say, hey, you know what? If we build a dam right here, we can build a pond, or we can build a lake, or we can build a massive reservoir, whatever the case may be, and then we'll save that water for when we need it.
Right.
That's common sense. And yet our state government is not doing that. It's
because they're fun, because they're about money, not common sense.
You brought the sun with you from Southern California, but before you got here, I mean, it was just dumping rain.
Yeah.
And this river out here is just flowing. And like this time of year, February, after a rain like that, I mean, where do you think all that water is going? It's going straight to the ocean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you make it worse. In Southern California, we put it in cement rivers to make sure it all gets to the ocean.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to soak
in. Into the
Nothing's going to
table.
go down to the water table, into the aquifers, so we can pull it out and drink it later. It's just 70% of the water in California that we get is purposely routed to the ocean, so we can't use it. And that's the government that's doing that. It's not us. We're smart enough to know that we need to save it. It's just the government's preventing it from happening.
Which is like, why, Carter? That's what I want to know. I want an answer, but I don't know that I'll get it.
You know why?
Yeah, I know why.
We all know why.
We all know
It's because
why.
Chad ain't in there yet, bro. That's why.
All right, so insurance companies are leaving. Another group that's leaving that I just saw are oil refineries are shutting down and leaving. And our gas prices are going up and up. And I heard you say, somewhere you're talking about how we have our own gas. So we have the ability to, not need to import all of the oil or gas that we have. But
we shouldn't be importing anything. We should not be importing any oil because we have it all here, and we have more oil in California that we could ever use. It's not going to go away in 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years. We have all the oil that we need. We just buy it from other places, making other places rich, and California benefits absolutely nothing from it. After I get elected, we are going to be 100% oil independent. We will use all of the oil that we need to refine into gas from California. California government has forced the refineries to leave. So now not only are we importing oil, but we're importing refined gasoline. So everything that we're using that we should be doing here to make us wealthy, to make this state wealthy, to give people jobs, to generate revenue for the state and all of those things, we're purposely not doing it. And then we're buying it from other places to make them rich. Everybody's getting rich off Californians, and we're benefiting nothing.
if we start to, it's not mine our own oil. What do you call it? Drill our own oil.
Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah. Are we going to have the refineries to refine it, or are we going to have to send it to, Nevada to,
We have them now. They're going away.
Yeah.
I mean, we had dozens and dozens and dozens. I don't know the exact number, but I think it's something like in the 40s. 40 years ago, we had 40-something, 60-something refineries in California, and now we're down to a couple. And they may be leaving. I mean, we already saw two big ones that are leaving. One of them paid $1 billion just to get out of California. Yeah, so it's bad. What the state is doing to them, it's bad when they will just fork over $1 billion just to get out.
Yeah.
So after I'm elected, I have to change that environment. The regulatory process that is forcing them out of the state has to be removed, and it can be removed. Stroke of a pen, I can remove all of that regulatory issue and process.
Don't use the auto pen.
I'm not using an auto pen.
You better start practicing so you don't get writer's cramp.
Yeah, dude.
I'm going to
You
be
better
signing
get
my
a
name for
special
days.
ink pen, dude.
Yeah, for days. And so when you do that, then the refineries not only will stop closing, they'll repair themselves, they'll get bigger, but then we're going to absolutely need to build more refineries. That's an absolute fact. There's too many people in California to not have refineries.
But that's great. We create jobs.
Massive amounts of jobs, and not only just jobs, those are good paying jobs.
Yeah.
And that's how the economy gets stimulated, by taking care of ourselves instead of purposely harming ourselves.
Yeah. Well, bring some of those things to Mendocino County, because we're low on jobs around here.
Yeah.
We need some oil.
What brings you up here, by the way?
Campaigning.
Yeah.
Campaigning.
Good.
A little bit of it a couple of days ago was work. I mean, I'm still the sheriff of Riverside County, so I still have to travel for work and everything else.
Do you have a fugitive on the loose up here in Mendo County?
No, it was
Sounds exciting.
We're here for meetings and politics and making sure that everybody up here supports me in this run for governor.
Awesome.
But it started with sheriff meetings, and now the last couple of days have been politics. We're doing a kind of like a North County swing.
Cool.
Making sure we hit as many places as we can before.
And you had an event last night at Barra. That was a meet and greet for people in Mendocino County to come out and say hi and see what you're all about.
Yes, and it was fantastic. I mean, they had to turn people away. They told us originally they were hoping for 150 people. They ended up stopping it at 350. And they had to turn people away because there just wasn't enough room and not enough time to find a bigger place. Yeah. People came from all over, not just Mendocino. They were from other counties too. Sure. I mean, I was amazed that people had made the drive to come see me and listen to me. And a lot of them saying they were supporting. A lot of them say they just wanted to know. A lot of them left saying, "We got to get you in there." It was a great event last night. It was a good one.
That's awesome.
These counties up here could be for you. I mean, there's a lot of people here that are.
There is
ranchers and loggers and that come from that whole history of that type of work and lifestyle.
Last night was a very it was a little microcosm of my belief of why I'm going to win this election. Mm-hmm. There were Democrats, there were Republicans, there were independents, there were every other party that you can think of. Some that just says I hate politics and everything else, but you got to win. We've got to make sure that you win. And I honestly think that's why I'm going to win. It's not going to be, this time isn't going to be about Republican and Democrat. Everybody knows we're broken. Everybody's looking for someone that they can trust to do the right thing. And the people that are coming, especially to that event last night, it was obvious. It was obvious there were people that were Democrats. It was they came up to me after and I'm like, I don't agree with everything, but man, you've got to win. I'm following everything that you say. You've got to win. You've got to save this state. A lot of it is public safety. A lot of it is crime. But now we're seeing it's corruption too. I mean, if you're looking to save the state from corruption and crime, are you going to go to the politician that put us here, the news commentator, or the sheriff who's been doing it for 32 years? It's that common sense. Yeah. It might be coming back to people where they're saying, "Hey, we just got to make a difference now."
There needs to be a change. That's the.
I think that's apparent.
And what's happening, like in Mendocino County, in particular, in a lot of these types of counties, is the ability to create an income here is eroding. Like a lot of people, this county got started with logging.
Yeah.
My dad moved from the Midwest to be a forester and work for, Louisiana Pacific, blah, blah, blah. Then that kind of went to ranching and farming, right? You had pears and you had vineyards, which is starting to fail. And also here in Mendocino County is a huge part of like the cannabis culture, which is completely pancaked. And so now you're looking at property values just flattening, the county's ability to earn any kind of, money because their tax basis is completely eroding. People are moving out, or the property taxes they're collecting is way a fraction of what it should be.
Yeah.
So they're increasing the cost of permit fees and all of that. And it's just really becoming kind of like a tight mess, right?
Instead of government fixing the reason why these things are broken, they're raising more fees on the people that are here.
Right.
Exactly.
Because they're too blind to see that now you're just going to cause them to leave too.
Right.
And then that whole common sense thing, well, are you doing it on purpose? Why aren't you helping us? Why are you continue to harm us? And so for this area up here, this is a perfect example of Sacramento destroying the entire state based on what somebody from Los Angeles or San Francisco or the Bay Area wanted, because they have absolutely no idea what life is outside of those big cities.
Right.
The reason why we have these massive fires, the north, way north, millions and millions of acres that burn, is because we stopped logging.
Yeah.
If we would log these, we would manage our forests. That we're not removing our forests, we're actually managing them. And so, and this is like in hindsight, you can tell these environmentalists that stop it. That's why there's no more logging. It's environmentalists.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now you can look at those environmentalists and say, look what your policy did. Because now you have the moonscape for over 1 million acres after this fire. Everything in its path is now dead and gone because of your failed policies. If we would have just thinned out those fires, we could have put them out.
Yeah, and it's not like the clear cutting that was happening in the 40s and 50s.
No.
Like my dad was a forester in the 80s, and then, he said the same thing. He's like, you have to manage the forest. He's like, and now they're passing all these laws because of, the great horned, what was it?
It was the owl.
Yeah, the owl, and then the newt, and then the frog,
That all of those things are more important than humans.
Right.
And he just shook his head, and he was just like, this is the most crazy thing. Watch what happens, And sure enough, just like you said, instead of a thin forest, not clear cut, you end up with ridge after ridge just burned, scarred.
And this is the thing that common sense, when you apply common sense to something and you look at the logging industry is the best group of people to bring together to figure out how to manage the logging industry. Because if you're just going to clear cut everything, in 2 years, you no longer have a job.
Right.
If you're going to actually manage your forests, so it's sustained forests forever, now that continues to grow, or it continues to evolve and sustain itself really forever. We should have never lost the logging industry.
Right.
And then it's not just the logging industry, it's everything else. But that's how you make it work. We have to come back. We have to manage our own forests. The wood that we're buying that we need to build in California, we buy from Canada. Mm-hmm. Why are we making Canadians rich? We should be benefiting from this while at the same time managing our resources, managing our income and everything else. And then everyone benefits. The entire city of Mendocino, or the county of Mendocino, could benefit from logging, from ranching, from farming. All of those industries are suffering greatly from regulation, over-regulation, that's preventing them from farming, from preventing them. They can't. The supply. I mean, the demand for wine is dropping, but that's only a portion of the reason why these wineries are going out of business. Is because they can't get water. They can't get water, so they're losing the ability to even have the amount of grapes that they need for the income that they need.
Yeah.
And so they're losing everything.
Yeah.
So I know you're a sheriff, so we'll take that. But what's your thoughts on like this?
What are you trying to ask, Drew?
Well,
We're going marijuana.
I don't have any, dude. Okay. I knew you were coming. But seriously, it's like one of the most belly flop things.
It's a great question. And I'll tell you personally, I absolutely don't like marijuana. I think it was an absolute mistake to legalize it. However, we legalized it. So now I'm a cop.
Right.
It's like, so now my personal opinion doesn't matter anymore. Now I have a professional opinion. My professional opinion was the marijuana industry, what you're doing is going to absolutely fail. It's not going to work like you think it is because you're not putting the effort into the black market. In my world, we told those lawmakers that if you don't have the effort to keep out the black market growers, the black market sellers, you are never going to regulate law-abiding Californians and allow them to make money. Because all of the fees and costs and taxes that they are paying because they're law-abiding, the criminals don't. So it was a failure from the very beginning. If this is how extensive and bad it was. You have to pay, if you're a legal grower, you're probably going to pay $20,000, $40,000, maybe even $100,000 or more in fees to get the licenses and everything else to grow your marijuana. Then you're going to be regulated with the fertilizers that you can't use. So you're not going to be able to get the same type of quality of marijuana that someone that's using illegal fertilizer is going to use. So you're paying all these costs, going over all these regulations, and you are now, your profit margin is shrinking. It's actually not very big at all. The black market guy right down the street who's got a bigger grow than you do, that's paying none of those fees, he can charge less for that finished product that he's using illegal fertilizers.
Illegal
and so now
fertilizers, illegal
stealing water, power,
immigration labor, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like all of that kind of stuff is
So
happening.
for round numbers, you have to sell a bag of marijuana for $100. Well, this guy's going to sell it for $80 to every client that you have. And are you going to pay do I want to pay $100 or do I want to pay $80? Well, I want to pay the $80. So you now can't even sell your marijuana because this guy over here is doing everything illegal. And if I go get that illegal guy, I take that in that illegal grow and everything else, do you know what I do to them? I give him a citation, and it's a $250 ticket.
That's what Kendall said. I didn't
$250
believe him.
ticket.
I thought he was just bullshitting.
No, it is absolutely.
Kendall doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Come on.
Matt's a good man.
He's great, dude.
He's
Matt's
a
a
friend
good
of the
man.
show. He's a
What's
friend
up,
of the
Matt?
show.
But
Yeah, we've had him on multiple times. He's great.
that is why the marijuana industry has failed, because government allowed it to fail, because at the same time they wanted legal marijuana, they don't want to put people who are committing crimes in jail.
Yeah.
So they remove all of the penalties and the punishments for committing crimes while they're trying to come up with a new industry that is influenced by crime. It was a recipe for the disaster. The sheriffs, we told them it was going to happen. Law enforcement across this state told those lawmakers this is what is going to happen, and they didn't care. And now we can't say I told you so, but really told you so.
So where do we go from here with it?
We can make it thrive as long as we have massive amounts of enforcement for the illegal stuff. Everything that is illegal, if you're going to make something legal thrive and work, you have to get rid of the illegal stuff. So the state of California, and this is, I mean, I hate sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but it's an agenda from the left.
Drew's ears just perked up, dude.
I know.
This is the best part of the podcast for him. Look at him.
But this, we have to realize that this is an agenda. It's an agenda that's been going on for a long time. Back to when our completely failed attorney general, just as bad almost as the one we currently have, Kamala Harris, absolutely removed the state Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement. Just completely dissolved it. They're all gone away. They would have been the ones that would have been regulating this. They would have been the ones that would have been going after the illegal growers and making sure that everybody was doing things right. And then the ones that had these legal marijuana grows, they would have been successful. But they purposely removed all of that ability for the state to manage. They don't give us the resources in the local law enforcement to go after something like that. And I know it's bad, and I know there's the tax money and everything else, but I have to look at my resources and say, do I put a massive amount of resources for something that the suspect is only going to get a $250 ticket? Or do I worry about all of the theft that's going on and the drug use and the homelessness and the violent crime and all of those things? So we have to prioritize local government, but the statewide law for marijuana growing was a statewide issue. That was the state's responsibility to police this, and they completely shirked their responsibility, and that's why it's failing. I can make it come back. The legal marijuana growers, and I'm telling you, as someone that doesn't want marijuana, that doesn't believe in marijuana, I'm telling you, we're going to bring it back because the state wants it. Everybody else wants it. So I'm going to get rid of all the illegal marijuana, the smuggling, the illegal grows, the illegal dispensaries, and the ones that are doing it right, legally, law-abiding Californians, you are going to prosper from that because we're going to take care of the ones that are doing us harm.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Sounds good to me. So can I ask you something a little tougher?
There's nothing there's nothing tough.
Okay, so part of what we've been putting out is like, and I think we actually have a couple people that called in that had questions. Did we screen those?
So it's actually text.
Oh, it's a text?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so we can bring those up. But one of them, someone sent us, is a video going around where people are like, Bianco acts like such a tough guy, and here he is like kneeling for Black Lives Matter. And, I think there were some other things about LGBT plus and stuff. Have you seen this going around?
Probably the video that you're going to talk about. I hear about it.
Yeah.
It's almost a little bit hilarious to me that, especially on the conservative Republican side, that for the last 10 years, we've all been screaming fake news, fake news, fake news. But now all of a sudden, oh my God, I saw it on my phone,
Yeah.
so it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre to me, but go ahead. We'll get through them.
Well, no,
They're
that
easy answers.
That was pretty much it. I could send it to you, but it's just you kneeling, and I'm just wondering, like, do you have a response to that for people out there that are saying, like, you kneeling
of course,
to the flag?
of course I kneeled.
Uh-huh.
We kneeled to pray.
Yeah.
So that was a massive protest that we had. And at the same time, Los Angeles was every major city in the country was on fire. This was the summer of love of 2020 when every place was burning down, and it came to us. And while LA was still burning down, now it's spreading to the outskirts, and we're outside of LA, so it comes to us. So we've got about 10,000 people in downtown Riverside in a business district. We have probably one of the most, I don't want to take anything from anybody else, but the Mission Inn is a hotel from truly the missions of California. It is a landmark of California. And we knew we were going to lose it. It was going to burn down. That's what our fear was. So the protesters, and this is what everybody has to realize, every single person there wasn't Antifa and wasn't BLM. It was, I saw friends and even extended family members that were in that crowd. And to me, it's like, WTH. It's like, this is an anti-cop organization. And it's a false narrative anyway of what they're even marching for. And I'm right here and you're there supporting them. So it was a weird environment because people just got caught up in it and they were doing the protesting, but not everybody was bad. And so they all started legitimate. And so they started with permits and everything else. And so we had met with them. So the organizers, there's 3 guys, you see them in the video. Those 3 guys were the organizers of that event. And I had met with them 2 days in a row prior, going over the rules of engagement for this protest. They knew that I was going to be there to not only protect their right to protest, but I was there to make sure that they didn't break the law. And if they broke the law, they were done. Yeah. And they were going to have to end. So leaving my office, they knew who I was. They're Riverside activists. They're Riverside, they're involved in all of that. They know who I am. They know that God is the most important part of my life. And both times we prayed when they left the office. No big deal. So now we get to the protest, and I'm there the whole time. I've got 1,200 cops. 900 were mine that were deputies, and then 350 were outside agencies that came to help, and about 10,000 protesters. We let them go for hours. We even let them, because they were being calm, we let them go past the curfew that we had set up. So while this is all happening, of course, I'm right there. And in the end, it started getting violent. As it gets dark, that's when we know as law enforcement, that's when everything bad happens.
Yeah, when people feel like they can do it without being seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived in Chico for 5 years. We know how it happens when it gets
Yeah.
dark.
We know what happens when it gets dark.
Yes. So it's
Get
starting
home now.
to
Go on, get home.
it's starting to get dark, and it started to get more loud. It started to get more, you could tense that, okay, we're almost ready to shut this down. And I had already told them, one of the rules of engagement was as soon as we see something get thrown, it's over. Mm-hmm. So while I'm sitting there talking to them or talking to the crowd, I don't even remember what it was, but I saw the bottle get thrown from the crowd and it comes over. It didn't hit anybody. It lands by one of the deputies, but I'm like, here we go. It's getting loud. Here comes the things being thrown. Everybody saw that. So now it's going to start. So I got the organizers and I told them, we're done. Here, we're going to announce that it's an unlawful assembly. We're going to give you 30 minutes to get everybody out. And then that's by law. You got 30 minutes to leave. It's unlawful. Anybody that stays after the 30 minutes, now we're going to force you to leave. And I had already told them, everybody that can go to jail is going to jail. That's it. It's zero tolerance. That's what they knew we had. So they thanked me for everything. They thanked me for the professional of my deputies, for what we did, what we allowed them. And then I'll go back right now because I want to say this. I have never been more proud of the deputies that day, standing on that line throughout the day, getting yelled at. I mean, not everybody. Some of them thanked them for everything else. But there were certain people in that crowd that were just anti-cop haters, brutal. And so I was unbelievably proud of them for maintaining professionalism throughout the entire day. They didn't talk to anyone. They didn't instigate anything. It was just a good thing. So now I tell them that it's over, and they thanked me. They told me they appreciate everything that we did. They told me where all of the bad things were going to happen. They told me what the people were dressed like that were going to be the instigators. They told me the weapons that were going to be used against us. They told me the general direction or the general location of where weapons had been hid that were going to bricks, rocks, bottles,
Who's
tools.
telling you this? The cops?
The organizers.
Oh, okay.
The 3 organizers. And then they asked me if they could pray for my deputy's safety. And the crowd. I mean, it was them too. It's for the safety of everybody, including the deputies. And I said yes. So we actually, the 3 of us, the 4 of us, 3 of them, me, we actually start to pray. And one of them said, can we get everybody to pray? I'm like, I don't care. So they asked the crowd, anybody that wants to pray can pray. I asked deputies. I didn't ask them. I said, anybody that wants to can. You don't have to. I'm not telling you to. If you want to, you can. Some did. Some didn't. I didn't care. Even the crowd in the video that they show and some of the stills, you can see them all kneeling too. So were they kneeling to me? I mean, none of it makes sense. This was just a prayer. That's all it was. Now, of course, because it's Steve Hilton that's paying for all of you to see this and get spread around right now with all these social media influencers, pay-to-play social media influencers are the ones spreading all of this. This is all him trying to make everybody believe that I'm weak on crime. But here's the reality, and this is what you have to think about of what happened that night. After that 30 minutes ended, overwhelming show and use of force on those protesters, and that's all on video too. You can find those videos too because there were news helicopters that were above us and showing us eliminate all of those protesters from downtown. We didn't lose a building. We didn't lose no injuries, no reported injuries anyway, definitely none from law enforcement. No buildings were looted, or businesses, no buildings damaged, no property damage, no nothing. And we eliminated them from downtown. Everybody that had to go to jail went to jail. And that show of force, the first one in the country. I was the first law enforcement leader in the country to absolutely stand up to the ridiculousness, what was burning down our cities and everything else. Yeah. And that set the tone. I set the tone for the rest of the country to end it. LA, the following day was like, oh, that worked. Maybe we need to start doing that. And they started doing it.
Yeah, that's the picture there that they're using.
And so they're all kneeling down too. It's like, so we're sitting there talking. That's all. I mean, you're not going to see that. You're not going to hear that. And then there were deputies, like right behind me is like we had like a safe zone that they couldn't get close to deputies. So there was maybe a 10-yard spot that was where all of the crowd was, and then don't come any closer, and then this is where the row of deputies that were protecting.
So you're kneeling to pray, not kneeling for the national anthem. Just
there's no
just to put that up. Let's just
let me. I got to make this clear.
Playing during that.
I got to make this clear because I was criticized back then for not coming out against the police officers in the George Floyd thing, because while I would not have done that, stay on that one because I'll talk about that one too. While I would not have done that, what they did, I mean, my deputies, they would have forced him in the car. Because he's whining and I can't get in the car, well, okay, well, I'm going to stuff you in the car then. And they would have put him in the car and they would have transported him. And then they would have had him at a jail, or they would have got him to medical treatment or whatever the case may be. But sitting there and just keeping him on the street because they didn't want to force him into the car, that was my only criticism. I know what the outcome of that is. And in hindsight, Chauvin didn't kill him. He died from a drug overdose. He had a heart attack, overdose of drugs. That's why he died. He wasn't suffocated. That's all a lie that we've all been led to believe. But at the time, I knew that is a domestic terrorist organization that absolutely hates cops. Absolutely hates cops. And we were critical of them leading up to all of these riots. And so to believe or to think that I am going to side with an organization that absolutely hates cops is absolutely wrong. And at the time, I was vocal against them. And then if I sided with them and if I knelt to BLM, which is the allegation, how does that coincide with 30 minutes later me completely eliminating from downtown Riverside? Yeah. And they've never come back. They won't come back. What we just had with the ICE protests, they warned, it's the same organizations too. The people that were arranging the BLM riots and everything else, it's the same ones that were doing the No Kings riots. The exact same ones. And so when those riots are trying to be organized, and they try to organize riots, they're protests that turn into riots, they warn them all to not come to Riverside County. It's their own group saying, don't go to Riverside County because that's controlled by Sheriff Bianco and we can't help you there. Yeah. And
he don't play.
Exactly. So how does that go with me kneeling to BLM? It didn't happen. We prayed. If I knew I was going to run for governor, could I have said, hey guys, well, let's stand and pray? Absolutely. But at the time, you also have to realize that not only am I leading 1,200 cops, I'm also responsible for 10,000 protesters, and I'm trying to keep them calm. So praying, my God is way bigger than their protest, way bigger than Antifa and all of those things. And if getting them together where all of us are coming together to pray is going to stop us all from going into a riot, of course I'm going to do that.
Well, we're all God's people here, and you're got to be the governor of the whole state.
The problem with that is everybody sees the tiny little video and this wasn't made for TV news. And the reason why I wanted you to hold that is because that reporter, I've known that reporter for a long time.
The blonde lady with the mask.
Yes. There were no reporters there. I mean, she was there, but it's not like we had cameras all over and everything else. Those are protester cell phones that you see. And she came after the fact. I mean, we're done. Everybody's leaving. And she comes after the fact and she grabbed me and she's like, oh my God, will you just do an interview with me here? And so I stayed right there while the camera's right there. She's doing the interview. Should I have stood up? Probably. Did I think about it at the time? No. I didn't even care because I knew the environment that we were in. There was no kneeling. I was already there for that. And she just asked me to stay there and I did. At the time, it was inconsequential. Yeah. It didn't matter.
You're working an 18-hour day. You want to kneel for a second.
And now, I mean, that's not what it was.
Have a conversation with a lady. You're a little tired, Chad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't that because then
Chad don't get tired.
The whole issue now is people are just saying I'm lying.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, I say this all the time. I get a little crude with people, but all of the people that are telling me, that are criticizing me, the majority of them don't have the guts or the courage to do what I do, and especially that day.
Yeah.
And then even that day, I will say, this is no criticism over other law enforcement officers or other law enforcement leadership. Nowhere in the country was the sheriff of the fourth largest sheriff's office in the entire country in the middle of the protest. My cops were behind me. There were a couple of times where I had people on that vest that I'm wearing, there's a strap on the back. And there were a couple of times where people were coming around me, and me and that guy right there, he's my assistant sheriff, but
Your right-hand man there in the picture?
And so he and I were the only law enforcement officers there without helmets on. And so I didn't want to be that opposing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to fight with them. I wanted to make sure that everything was good. So
Well, helmets don't make you look cool anyway. So.
they don't.
Yeah.
So it was the environment that was there. I was leading both. I was leading the protest and I was leading the deputies to make sure that we got out of there as safely and as quietly as possible. Unfortunately, it didn't end that way. They chose that. The rioters chose that, and we eliminated them. So the bad part of this whole thing is it takes too long for me to put people in the context of where we were.
Yeah.
And for me to just come out and say, no, we were praying. Well, their answer is, you're a liar because I saw the video and I heard on the video they were saying, take a knee, take a knee. What you didn't hear is when they were asking the crowd if they would pray and everyone's going to kneel and pray, they're also yelling, we don't kneel with murderers. It's like, okay, well, how does that go together? They knew we were praying. And so it's unfortunate that people want to believe just because of the emotion that nobody liked those times anyway. And, a cop gave in. The whole idea of kneeling to something means that you're giving up power to them. And it has nothing to do with that. We were praying. End of story. But nobody wants to believe that. A lot of people do, but the hardcore people that don't have the guts to do what I do and that would have never come down there and done that, they were sitting in their safety of their living room, probably in their underwear, sucking their thumbs, but they're the ones that are criticizing me. Yeah. And then you have a complete failed politician, typical politician strategist who's using cuts and stills of certain videos to paint me in a bad light. So people will support him instead of me.
Well, the overall picture of your story there shows to me a really good leader.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'll tell you that since that time, I have emerged from 2020 to 2026 as a nationwide leader of law enforcement. I am one of the most respected leaders in law enforcement in the country, definitely our state. How does that ever go together if I knelt to BLM? So my entire department knows what happened. Every deputy, the 1,200 cops that were there knows what happened. And that spreads pretty quickly when someone accuses you of something. They're like, no, we were there. This is what it was. And so then it just goes away. Yeah. Nobody's cared for 6 years until Steve Hilton, another candidate for governor, decides that he's going to use that to try and discredit me.
Yeah. Well, let's go to our, do we have a couple questions from our listeners?
All right, let's cover these here. Hey guys, excited to hear that Chad Bianco is going to be on the podcast. As a cabin owner at Lake Pillsbury, what is his stance on saving the lake? Hopefully he's all for keeping the dam, and if he does take office as governor, what is he going to do to be able to save it?
There's no other option. No other option. It has to be saved. It has to be stopped. I'm hoping they are not able to do it before I get there. And not only that, there's going to be, I don't know how many. The answer is going to be however many we need, more dams built all through California to make sure that we don't have this water problem, this government manufactured water problem that we have. But this one in particular, because I know this is huge here, and we're in the progressive stages of it. I mean, this has been progressed for years. And so I'm hoping that in this time, in these last 9 months of this year, they don't have the ability. Once I take over, it absolutely stops. It's not going to happen.
Well, they have it slated to start dam removal, I think, in summer of 2022. 2028. So this is still a couple of years down the line, and the Department of the Interior are starting to get involved. So
and they know it can't happen too.
yeah, so if you're listening to this and you want to save that dam, well, you're going to need a governor who wants to save it, and a president who wants to save it, or at least a federal government. So keep that in mind. All right, what's the next one? The state left behind rural legacy cannabis communities in legalization. What will you do to revive the economies of rural Northern California and return the legal cannabis market to the families that were promised a fair chance at the market, but instead given a disadvantage when Newsom administration removed the acreage cap at the 11th hour? And I know you kind of touched
covered
on
that.
it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not just one thing broken. It's not just enforcement. There's also other issues just like that in there. That's another example of something else that's going to have to be fixed and changed in those policies. But it all has to go together. We've got to fix the things that we know are harming, and then we also have to have the enforcement part to get rid of all the illegal.
Yeah. So this last question, will you investigate the usage of funds in state organizations for fraud and waste in programs such as the high-speed rail homeless relief and the DCC? We've talked about a lot of this, but isn't this high-speed rail just another example of us paying the money and the politicians stealing it all? Now
Yes,
we have
it is.
Jack shit to show for it?
Yes, it is. And it's another job for the failure of our attorney general. And he's up for election. He cannot be elected. I don't care who you vote for. Absolutely, you cannot vote for Rob Bonta. As the governor, I will instruct DOJ, and I have the ability as the top executive of our government to set the agenda, and I can tell them what they're going to investigate and what they're not going to investigate. I can instruct them to investigate all of these things to find out where the waste, fraud, and the abuse is. And if they don't, then my final tool is the power of the purse. So I just defund DOJ. They get absolutely nothing, and then they can do us no harm anyway.
All right, there you go. All right, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
You're a rock star, man.
Really appreciate it.
You came out guns blazing from the truck to the microphone, so respect.
The horse. He rode his horse here, dude.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Here's your chance. Tell Mendocino County and beyond, why they should vote for you, what you're going to do for our state, for our county, final thoughts for the people.
Absolutely. So basically, I really do believe that I'm going to be our only chance. I know the people that are on this ballot. I'm going to be our only chance of making sure that we save our state, returning it to the greatness that we once had. I truly am doing this for Californians, not for a political party. I can't change the fact that I'm a registered Republican and I typically vote that way, but this isn't about Democrats. I'm not going to win this election and say I turned the state red. I'm not going, or Republicans, I'm not going to, this isn't for Republicans. It's not for Democrats. It's not for independents. I will tell you that the American Independent Party has endorsed me in this campaign. I am doing this for Californians. Every single Californians whose lives are being made more difficult, we are going to put California government in a position to actually make all of our lives better and easier instead of us working so hard or harder to make California government bigger. We have one opportunity. This is the opportunity of potentially of our lifetime to make California what we all want, what it once was. And if we don't seize this moment, there might not be another opportunity. And not to make that sound doom and gloom, but the reality is the people who are running against me for this position are not in it for you. They're not doing it for you. They're doing it for the power, for the prestige, to say they're the governor, lifetime politicians. You absolutely need to start voting for integrity, honesty, proven leadership, and someone with a proven track record of public service to make all of our lives better. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your endorsements, your money, but I need your vote. We have to absolutely make sure people vote.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time. We know you got a lot of ground to cover, and we appreciate it very much, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. God bless you, and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. See you
Thanks,
next
guys.
time.